Reason.
You're good? Go ahead.
Okay. Good evening. I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. My name is Lauren Bennon. I'm the chair of the Flood Advisory Board. And I'm going to run through a little bit about the board, what we've been up to lately, and then we're going to go into a little tutorial on reading the river gauges, which hopefully will be something helpful, especially if we have any floodplain residents in the audience. So first of all, what are we? Pompton Lakes Flood Advisory Board. We are an all-volunteer board. We have 9 members who are appointed by mayor and council, and our job is pretty much what it sounds like it would be. We advise mayor and council on flood-related issues, and that's a really broad statement. If it deals with flooding, it falls under our purview. So we're going to go through a little bit of the committees and all in a minute. We meet once a month on the 4th Thursday of every month at 7:30 p.m. in this room. Our meetings are all open to the public. So if you want to find out what's going on or get involved, you can always come to one of our meetings. And you can find us a few different ways. We have an email address, which is pomptonlakesfloodboard@gmail.com. We have a page on the borough website. If you're on the borough homepage and you go into the community tab, Flood Advisory Board is one of the options, and you can find us and find out what's going on, access minutes and agendas, and some additional documents through the borough page. We also have a Facebook page. I know a lot of residents are on Facebook. Social media is a good way to get information out. If you ever have questions and you don't have the email address, if you're on Facebook, you can find us on Facebook, message the Facebook page, and get information there. So what are we up to and what do we do here? Are we, oh, this is not doing what I thought it was going to do here. Hold on. This is not my computer. Thank you. Okay. Let me just click here. Right arrow is here. This isn't my computer. Okay. Thank you. All right. Committees and projects. So the Flood Advisory Board has 2 main committees. The first is the Lake Restoration Committee, and the Lake Restoration Committee is the primary project of them lately has been the Lake Management Plan. They're also known as the Pompton Pride Group, and their concern is helping to restore our lake for recreational use and to improve the water quality in Pompton Lake and Twin Lake. They have meetings on the second Tuesday at 8 p.m. Their meetings are open to the public also, and we always encourage people to come and get involved. You may have seen the photo contest that they ran in years past. In fact, the photos in the back of the room are from the photo contest 2 years ago. They do various community outreach to bring attention and positive attention to the lake. So the Lake Management Plan was adopted late in 2015 as a 5-year plan, and it had several different goals which were related to control of invasive species, stormwater management, primarily for water quality in the lake, safety, navigability and boater safety, community education, and compliance with DEP's limits for nutrient load in the water, and that deals with water quality, controlling algae, and unwanted plant growth. So it's something that they put together. A lot of work went into it, and they're continuing to work on it. Second main committee of the board is our Stormwater Management Committee. Now, this is a little bit newer, and we've been around for about 2.5 years, and we deal primarily with improving the way Pompton Lakes addresses runoff from stormwater. We're focusing on implementing more green infrastructure to handle stormwater better for both water quality and to help reduce flooding. The Stormwater Management Committee has been focused on public outreach and public education to help residents understand the concepts and get more invested and excited about the ways that we can reduce flooding and reduce the amount of water hitting our rivers. We've held rain garden seminars. We installed an outdoor classroom in Hirschfield Park, and we will be holding our second rain barrel seminar coming up in April, the end of April. So again, we're on the borough website. Stormwater Management has its own page. Find us through the community section, and all of our events are open to the public. So we also have several what I call committees of one, which are individual members of the Flood Advisory Board that have taken on additional responsibilities and a focus on a specific facet of flooding and flood mitigation, and to follow up and keep on top of that in between meetings, and then report back to the group. So we have a legislative person, who's Josie, and it tracks any legislation dealing with flooding, dealing with flood insurance, dealing with any kind of flood regulations. We've worked with both our federal and state legislators in the past, and we continue to monitor various pieces of legislation to try to influence decisions to best protect residents. So we have a CRS person who acts as our liaison to our CRS coordinator, who's our borough clerk. The CRS program is the community rating system. That's a whole other presentation on its own. We'll be happy to answer questions about it later. It's a very important part of what the borough does. And new this year, we have a climatology person. Joe's not here tonight, but it's been a great amount of effort put in. The slide shows a small piece of one of the spreadsheets that has been developed gathering data, tracking rainfall, river gauge levels, temperature, reservoir levels, going back to 2011. And we're gathering this data so that we can help see whether or not mitigation projects are actually helping. We need proof if we want to be able to continue with projects going forward. So what else have we been up to? Our main project right now, ongoing since 2010, is our river work and river hazard assessment. So we have some photos of the last map we put together, and this is a field survey of the waterways to document obstructions, shoals, areas that need attention. Over the last, since 2011, so over the last 7 years, we have had a total of approximately $740,000 of federal, state, and local money devoted to stream cleaning operations by Pompton Lakes, Riverdale, and Pequannock. And we do feel that this is starting to bear fruit and see an improvement in the way our rivers are flowing. And we will still be doing that. In fact, we're looking at using drones for the next one, so you might see us out there this spring. So now on to the second part of our presentation, reading river gauges. If you live near one of the rivers, or if you follow our Facebook page, then you've probably seen comments about, well, rivers are predicted to crest at such a level, or our rivers are all currently within our banks. And where do we get that information? We get that information from various websites that show data on the river gauges. River gauge data is held on USGS websites and on National Weather Service websites. If you're not used to reading these kinds of graphs, the ones from the National Weather Service and NOAA sites are a little bit easier to read. So we're going to go to one of these websites now, provided this works as we hope it will, so we can go through it. And we're going to get to that by going through our borough website first. Because the first question is, how do you see, and now this is not coming up on, all right, how do I make,
minimize the,
okay, just a minute for tech support here.
which one are you using?
Councilman Bennett is also my husband and knows that I am not the most technologically advanced in the world, and it's still not showing up. So I'm going to keep talking while we get that up on the screen. How do you get to these sites? If you don't know where to find the gauge sites. On the flood board's page on the borough website, we have the links to the 4 gauges that are for the rivers that influence Pompton Lakes. So that's the Ramapo, the Pequannock, the Wanacue, and and the Pompton. The Pompton is technically south of us, but impacts our south end neighborhood when it hits a certain level and water backs up. So if you're on our borough page, on the flood advisory boards page, and you scroll down to the bottom, you can go to the Ramapo River at Pompton Lakes. Now, when the page loads, you see this nice little colorful graph and a whole bunch of bands of color. What does this all mean? You're going to notice, first of all, we have the lines going across, the heavy black lines in between colors are labeled. So this one says action stage here at 10 feet. And below action stage, the background is all white. It's all white because at that point the river is within its banks. Action stage correlates to bank fall. You can kind of think about it as, okay, action stage, I might need to take action. I might need to be ready to prepare for a flood if this river impacts me. So that's action stage at 10 feet. Then from action stage to minor, almost like a warning sign, like a traffic light here, it's yellow. It's okay, warning, be a little aware that something's going on here, because the next line up is minor flood stage. And now if you live on the river, you kind of have an idea of what that means for your property. If you're not sure, we'll scroll down in a minute and show you where it gives the descriptions of what to expect at each stage. After minor, where we know that flooding is occurring, then we come up and the next line is moderate, and then it goes into the red. So this is where you're going to really start to have more impacts, and above that into the purple is considered major flood stage. So that's what's going on in the back. Now the numbers along the side, this is in feet. Right now, the river, we have last observed value is 8 feet at 5:15 p.m. And it will tell you in this little box what the flood stage is. So that helps you know right now we're almost 3.5 feet below flood stage. This heavy blue line is our observed readings. This is what the gauge has actually recorded. And you see it goes from 6 p.m. Sunday, it goes every 12 hours, so 6 p.m. Sunday, 6 a.m., 6 p.m., 6 a.m., up until right now. And after here, the line turns purple and it gets thinner in these little squares. This is our predicted reading. So when you see us talk on the Facebook page or any notice goes out or anything said about, well, the river is predicted to reach whatever level, the river is predicted to stay within its banks, this is what we're talking about here. These are the predictions. Predictions are not always 100% accurate, but they're the best measure we have and the best preparation we have. So we're going to go down here. Now you want to say, okay, where is this gauge? How do I know what I'm looking at? It says it's at Pompton Lakes. Well, there's a lot of Ramapo River in Pompton Lakes. This red dot, when you scroll down on the page, on any of the gauge pages, you'll see this little map, and the red dot is going to show you where the gauge is. So this gauge is just at the bottom of the dam, right before the river makes its bends by Mathis Ave. So this is what we say it's downstream of the dam in our neighborhood. I tend to think about flooding as a South End resident. I don't mean that in any offense to anyone from the other side of town who is not that neighborhood. So if we come down here, we also have historic crests, and of course we all know that one. And then it also lists recent crests, so you can see the times that it has gotten close to or exceeded action stage in the past couple of years. Coming down a little bit farther, this is where it's going to give some information. Hold on a second, here we go, flood impacts and photos. And this gives you a little explanation of what to expect at each level. If you're new to town, if you're new to correlating what's happening on the ground to the gauge, this is a useful little area to read. So I'm going to show you one more gauge before we run out of time here. And that's going to be, we're going to click here for Upstream Gauge. And then you're going to see the one that all of us on the Ramapo really watch very closely, and this is Ramapo River at Pompton Lakes Dam. So, okay, what's the difference? This one is upstream of the dam. So this is the gauge at the top of the dam, and we always get the question of, well, when is the dam going to open? How do I know when the dam's going to open? When the blue line hits 11.5 is when the dam comes online. So that's what this gauge is very useful if you're concerned about or you're trying to watch what's going on with the dam. the Upstream Gauge will show you this. You'll notice this gauge is not predictive. Some gauges are not. Some gauges will give you a prediction, some gauges only give you recording what is actually going on at that point in time. So I hope that helps give a little bit more understanding of what's going on. Remember, you can find all of these links on our page, the Flood Advisory Board page, on the Borough homepage. And you can always reach out to us with additional questions, PomptonLakesFloodBoard@gmail.com, or through our Facebook page. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. First of all, let me introduce myself to anyone that's new. I'm Al Evangelista, OEM coordinator, and I just cannot commend our Flood Advisory Board enough for the work that they do, and our mayor and council for supporting them. Since 2011, this borough has spent $740,000 in maintenance of our rivers that affect this community. And it's 3 rivers that do that, and Lauren mentioned them. It's the Paquonic, the Ramapo, and the Wanakill. So at any given time, we have these 3 rivers that can impact our community. No, as of right now, they're in great shape as far as any debris in those rivers. They've deposed them, which means removing those shoals and anything else that might inhibit the flow of water. So that board has been doing a tremendous job, and I applaud them, so let's give them another hand. Thank you for the presentation. By a show of hands, how many people have visited that website right there that you just saw? Please raise your hand. Okay, if you haven't, experiment. Go onto our borough website, pull up those gauges, and follow those gauges. Now, we still have local gauges. We still have 5 boots-on-the-ground kind of gauges that we will always maintain. So if this system goes down, or if it's interfered with, or if we have a tree come down across the river, as we did just recently with the storms, and that gauge doesn't react fast enough to it, our police are out there every half an hour doing river readings on all of the local gauges on the river. So it's just not one thing that we rely on. Lauren mentioned that. We rely on a number of different sources for our data. We put it together right here in this war room, that's what we call it, and then we decide what our response is going to be to that storm. So Lauren, thank you, and thank you all the board members for a great job. Our next presentation is the CERT team. We have a very active CERT team. Many years ago, 2006, right, Deborah? We had an event, and we put out for a request for people to join our CERT team, which is volunteers from the community. Okay, with no background in fire, police, EMS, nothing like that. It's simply neighbors helping neighbors. And we ended up with 50 people. All right, we now have another initiative after the recent storms, and we have about another 15 or 20. So that's great. From a community our size, 11,000 people, we have a tremendous CERT team, and I want to invite one of our team trainers up here this evening, Jimmy Rose, to come up and make a presentation to you about our CERT team. Thank you, Jim.
Thanks, John. Should I stand anywhere in particular? Right here? Mike's there. Okay, great. So, Jimmy Rose, I've been on the CERT team since 2007. Just a little description of what CERT is. It stands for Community Emergency Response Team. I think it's a good idea for anybody to take this training. You don't have to join the team to take the training. If you're wondering why you should take the training, if you can answer yes to any of the 3 questions that I'm going to ask you now, you should take it. Do you know what to do in an emergency? Do you want to help your friends and your family? And are you interested in helping your community? If you can answer yes to any of those questions, then you should be taking the CERT classes, which are actually starting tonight. Sorry, we were supposed to have this event last Wednesday, but we were in the midst of the winter that would not end. So they actually are starting tonight. The first class tonight is at 7:30 at the fire department. So if you're interested, we do have registration forms. You can contact Deborah Ross in the back. Wave to everybody, Deborah, in the back of the room. What will you learn in CERT? So you'll learn disaster preparedness, how to get ready for a disaster and how to help yourself and your friends and your family and your community. Fire suppression. Things like putting out small fires. Obviously, if it's a large fire, what do? 911 and get out. So, but the things about hazardous materials, substances that can catch fires. We do medical operations, part 1 and part 2, and by operations, I don't mean surgeries. They won't let us do surgeries. I've asked, thanks. You have to be a doctor and take medical training. So, but I'm talking about basic first aid, triage, airway obstruction, things like that. So, if you don't know first aid, this is a great way to get caught up on that. We do some light search and rescue operations as well. You'll learn how to do that, how to assess a building, how to look for dangers, what's the best way to go in, how to coordinate with the rest of the team. There's psychology and team organization. You'll learn about the whole hierarchy of CERT and how that fits in with the Office of Emergency Management and the first responders. We're not first responders. We're there to support the first responders when they get overwhelmed in the case of a natural or a man-made disaster. So that's when we are deployed, and we're deployed by the town. There's a module on terrorism as well, and then there's a course review and a practical, which is kind of cool. The practical, actually, we test you, or you get to test your skills and your knowledge that you've learned over the course in a safe disaster, if that makes sense to you. So it's a simulated disaster. We haven't lost anybody yet in the disaster, so it tends to be a lot of fun. Some of the courses are, and again, starting tonight, disaster prep, fire safety, medical 1 and 2, search and rescue, organization for CERT, disaster psychology and terrorism, and then the practical. These classes are typically 7 o'clock in either the fire department or the first aid squad. Tonight's an exception because of the storm and having to move this. Tonight's class will actually start at 7:30. And the classes don't go longer than 2 hours. So these are all Wednesdays. You have an option to take the classes at the Fire Academy on Saturdays. There's 3 Saturdays, I believe, May 5th, 12th, 9th, and 19th, and June 2nd. So 4 Saturdays. They run 8 a.m. to 4 p.m. They are full-day classes. So if you can take them Wednesday night, you get it in little chunks. If you can take it all day Saturday, you'll get the course done in half the time. We hope you'll sign up. We'll hope you'll join the team. We're always looking for members because, again, a lot of times when a disaster strikes, especially the ones that strike our town, some of our members are actually impacted directly by that, and they're taking care of their family and can help the town. So we're always looking for members from all over the town. Any questions? I tried to make this short and brief because I have no slides. I had a lot of coffee today. Yes?
Is there a fee for the classes?
There is no fee. There's no charge for the classes. These are free. Very good question. We give you lollipops at the end. No. Any other questions that I can answer?
Can you just describe our shelter operation and how it impacts our community?
Oh, yes. So we just had this. So, it's kind of weird. We're a team that doesn't want to be deployed. We train to be deployed, but we'd rather not be deployed because that means there's no emergency and there's no need for us, and then people are in peril. So we do run shelter operations. Generally, we do it at the Carnival Center across the street. We just did it. When was the last one we had? 2 weeks ago. When we lost power because of the storm and everything. Kind of not too ashamed to say I was in Costa Rica at the time, so I missed the whole thing for once, but we set up those shelters, warming stations, places you can come for, to sleep if it's an overnight kind of thing. But we're trained in setting up shelters very quickly. We get some assistance from Red Cross and things like that. So, I mean, it's something that the CERT team does for the town that seems to be really appreciated. And again, we are always looking for volunteers. Yes, sir.
How many shelters are available in town?
Generally, we set up in the Carnival Center. We have set up in different buildings, but that seems to be the best accommodation.
Our shelter protocol in our emergency plan is the Carnival Center, then the Lakeside School, then the high school. And that's in our plan.
Hopefully, you don't need all 3 at once.
Yes.
Because that would be bad. And we often run drills, like we'll have a meeting once a month, and we'll either have tabletop exercises to try to keep our skills up, because when we don't have any disasters, which is a good thing, we tend to, lose our skills and everything. So we do tabletop drills. Every once in a while we'll do an out-in-the-field drill to try to keep it lively and informative and hopefully a little bit of fun. So I hope you guys will think about joining. Anybody else? Questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jim. Just to underscore the CERT team and how it began, right after 9/11, President Bush signed into law the CERT team, community response teams. And the reason for that is, as you well know, emergency services were overwhelmed. They were overwhelmed from the get-go. And that's going to happen with natural or man-made emergencies, especially today with the way things are going. We have to be prepared. And you know, I'm always taken back when I read a story in the paper that said someone was choking in a restaurant and one person stood up to do the Heimlich maneuver. One person? Everybody should have stood up to do the Heimlich maneuver. Everybody should know the basics on how to protect themselves, their families, and their neighbors. And that hasn't been true. There are so many people that we see come onto the team that have no clue about how to shut their gas off, how to shut their electric off, how to shut the water off, how to redeploy to another location. Oh my God, it's like the end of the world if they had to relocate. These are basic things today, ladies and gentlemen, that we have to know. And we have to have on plans, on paper, so our kids know about it, our relatives know about it. Everything's got to be planned. And that's what emergency management is all about. So one of the things that the CERT team underscores is that planning. It teaches you basics, putting out a fire, as Jimmy said, things within your local control. Take care of your own neighborhood. Take care of your own family. Okay, and then help emergency services in any way you can. We have a 21-man police department. We have a 60-man fire department, and I think the first aid squad were what? Never stepped out? Between 45 and 50 members. And that's between the two towns of Pompton, Lakes, and Riverdale. So during a real down-and-out emergency, I'm not talking about a snowstorm. These two past snowstorms were not emergencies, folks. These were the drill when I was a kid. Okay, these were like nothing. It was a school day off. It wasn't an emergency. Even losing your power for a day or two really wasn't an emergency. Today it is. Because if I can't turn on the hairdryer, or I can't turn on my electric shaver, or if I can't open up the refrigerator and see a light turn on, I don't know what to do. And that's sad for our nation. Okay, it's really sad. So that's what emergency management is all about. It's preparedness. It's getting you prepared for those days when everything's not going to be perfect. 4 phases to emergency management. First one, mitigation, our flood advisory board. Get the wood out of the rivers and the water will flow. Right? Take the toys out of the bathtub will drain. It's all relative. It's all relative. Clean the gutters, and the rain will not come back into your house and do hundreds or thousands of dollars of damage. It's all very simple. Preparedness. Always be prepared. I hear a storm is coming. My neighbor's not there anymore. He moved last year, but I had to worry about his lawn chairs coming into my house because at the height of a windstorm, everything would be out across the yard. Nothing would be brought in, tied down, put away, secured, put in a shed, whatever you want to say. Everything just stayed where it was. It's called preparedness. Okay, preparedness. So that's, again, a nice thing that CERT does. We try to do it through emergency management. These little booklets that we passed out, everything you want to know about preparedness, read that book. Put it in a spot where it's handy. Every time you get bored or you don't know what to do or you got a few minutes, open it up and read another part of that book. We have other things recently that took place. I'd just like to wrap through them very quickly so that we don't leave anything left untouched. Let's talk about the water emergency last September. People call me to actually complain that the town didn't notify them that there was a water main break. And I say this respectfully. When I turn on my taps and no water comes out, it's got to be a water main break. Something's got to be wrong. Okay, it's not the end of the world. I don't hide under a table. Okay, I'll hopefully do with that little calendar, with that little magnetic refrigerator magnet says 1 gallon per person per day in your home. And you should have that right now in your cupboard or your pantry. 1 gallon per water per day. Keep it for a couple months, change it out, use it for something else, and then get fresh water. But you should be ready for that. We have an excellent municipal utilities authority. They do a great job. But when a pipe breaks, something shifts, something moves, we have no control over that. And unfortunately, in that case last September, it happened to be the main, Murphy's Law, happened to be the main feeder line to our whole branch network for our entire town. You couldn't plan it that way if you wanted to, but it happened.
In a hard spot.
In a horrible spot, a very difficult spot to work in to repair it. But it got repaired. They did an awesome job. But the short and long of it is this. It's not Armageddon. Okay, it's not the end of the world. We have to make provisions then to recover. We reach out, we get in the car, we go buy water, we go to a relative's house somewhere and get water. We have to deal with those things. It's not the end of the world. And I'm telling you that respectfully because you now have to go home and prepare our kids to pick up on this and to be ready so when they open the tap and there's no water, they can know what to do. Or turn on the switch and there's no electricity. Let's talk about the water's discolored. I know I'm going to drill on this a couple of minutes because it was a big issue. When in doubt, always boil the water. Always. It can't hurt. Put it in a pot, put it on a stove, and boil it for drinking only. You don't have to boil it to wash, you don't have to boil it to do dishes, you don't have to boil it to clean things. You just got to boil it to drink it. And that's for coliform bacteria, that's all. Okay? A good boil. Bring it to a good boil, let it sit, refrigerate it, put it in the refrigerator, and it's safe to drink. Now, the MUA is under very strict state rules as for reporting. Within 1 hour, they got to get, and that seems like a long time, but within 1 hour, state standard, they have to get the word out to the community. They put the message out very quickly that there was a water main break and there was a boil water advisory came somewhere after that, once they got a handle on what the problem was. If it's a localized break within a 1 block, 2 block, 3 block area, they don't have to issue a boil alert. But if it's a widespread situation like they had, yes, then it's boil advisory. If you don't know, if you're unsure, boil the water. It's that simple. Okay? Let it run at least 5 minutes. After it was restored, you might know, and in my house it was days before it cleared up. I had that white bubbly look to it. And that's air in the system. Whenever you drain a system, you refill it, you're going to have air in there with the water. And the air is going to give it that whitish, bubbling look. So just let it sit, put it in what I did, I actually put it in a couple glasses just to do a test and see how quickly it cleared up. And it cleared up quite quickly when it was just sitting on the counter. Because it's all air that will eventually, leave the system. Refrigerator for drinking, water will be discolored, let it run for at least 5 minutes. Anytime that system is interrupted, and I sort of fire department here at this point. In the summer, we like to go out and do drills and tap into a hydrant and pump some serious water, like 1,000 gallons a minute, something that you can't do at your house. It's going to disturb the pipes a little bit, and the police get the call. My water's a little bit brown. Yes, when you flow a rush of water through a pipe like that, you're going to get agitation. It will settle. It's only sediment. Doesn't affect the purity of the water at all. The clarity, yes. The purity, no. Okay? And also, they will be flushing the hydrants beginning Monday, April 16th, and there will be alerts put out to you. So, if you turn the tap on in the morning, you have low water pressure, it's a result of hydrant flushing. If you see a little brown color in the water, let it run, result of flushing. They do the flushing to improve, it's kind of counterproductive. They actually do the flushing to improve the water quality. Okay, twice a year they have to do it, in the spring and fall. So they're doing that for our benefit, but we just have to bear that little inconvenience for a short while. Okay, so just keep that in mind. People were overloading the police department, telling them they had no water. We know that. The whole town had no water. Check first with your neighbor. See if they have water on both sides. You have water, I have water, all right, then I may have a local problem on my property, my water meter. Things can happen. But if everybody in the block has no water, call it in. But generally, we know right away, right up front. Let's talk about the snowstorms. Okay? Our poor DPW took a beating in more ways than one. They took a beating from the storm, they took a beating from the public. Streets weren't cleaned fast enough, quick enough, the way they usually are, on and on and on. Ladies and gentlemen, we have 27 miles of local roads in Pompton Lakes. 27 miles. From here to Willowbrook is 10 miles. So to here to Willowbrook twice and then another 7 miles. 3 times almost, okay? It's a lot of roadways in Pompton Lakes. We have 7 miles of county roads. And the county was strapped. They were hurting because of the breakdowns. This snow was the typical March snow, very heavy, very water-laden, and it doesn't work well for plows. Even the big plows sometimes have problems. County had problems, we had problems, and we still overcame it. We got it done. It took a little bit longer, but it wasn't easy as those snowstorms we get over the winter when the snow is light. Push it out of the way and it moves easily. So please be patient. Okay, they're on top of it. There was a state of emergency. Our public, I want to commend the public. We had very few cars parked on the roads, and that was awesome. Because we do remind them with the notification system. The police do ticket them. We tend not to like to tow the car, so please move it rather than tow it. We will if we have to, but and in a state of emergency we can. And then one-lane plowing. It's, make sure you understand this. When we get a snowstorm like we did, the 19 inches, I called our DPW superintendent. I said, you plow 1 lane on every road. That's it. That's all we need. Police car, fire truck, and ambulance. That's it. You don't do curb to curb on every street as you're going through town. You waste too much time. We have to open this whole town up. We've got a serious crisis on our hands with 19 inches of snow. So what they were doing, we were actually getting calls that said, the plow went by my house once and that was it. I never saw him come back. That's right, because that's the drill. That's the plan. Open up the roadway for emergency vehicles to save your lives, and then come back later and plow it a little bit wider, plow it a little bit wider. Eventually you get curb to curb. Okay, so it's not as easily said as done, all right? Warming and charging shelter, we opened a warming shelter over here. We had 1 person show up to charge a battery. Wasn't even to get warm. So we closed it. The following snowstorm, we waited in case we got calls. We didn't get any calls about a warming shelter, which, again, I commend the public. They were ready. They either relocated, went to a relative's house, went to a diner, went to a bar, whatever they wanted to do to plug in and get warm. You know, be my guest. Do whatever you want. But where they really need the warming and charging shelters, as you can imagine, are in the cities. Because when a power plant goes down in a multi-occupancy building in the city, you got a lot of people you got to take care of. So I commend our public and our residents for that. Yes.
When you said the 1 strip,
Yes.
of course, the next one
Right.
street because we can't come back.
Okay. The ordinance as far as snow plowing is explicit, and this is it. I got to memorize now after all these years. There's no parking in any public street until it is sufficiently plowed. The storm has stopped. Let me throw that in there. The storm must have stopped, and the roadway is sufficiently plowed for the safe passage of traffic. So if the plow came by twice and made your street pretty wide, you still can't park on it until the storm is over and it's sufficiently plowed curb to curb. Okay? And if you do clear out your driveway, when you clear out your driveway by hand or with a snowblower and you're looking at your house, throw all the snow to the left. Because when the plow comes by, it's going to grab that mound of snow. Where's it going to push it? In front of your neighbor's house. Isn't that a great idea? Okay? If you put it to the right of your driveway, it's going to push you right back into your driveway. Okay? But instead, if you put it on the left, it's going to spread it out. By the time it gets to your neighbor's driveway, it's going to spread it out, push it up on the curb. So too many people, and I know it's just easy to put it on both sides, but then you're going to get that residual snow back into that driveway that you just cleared. But as the mayor said, keep the cars off the road until that road is plowed. Usually it's 24 hours after the storm. Okay? Overnight shelters, we do not open an overnight shelter unless we mandate an evacuation. During the floods, we mandate evacuations, and we do have the authority under emergency management to do that. Okay, if we have a state of emergency, we can go down and say, you will evacuate your house. Now, we're going to wrestle with it. If the police are going to arrest you, I doubt it. But if mandatory evacuation is, you will get out. They do it down shore all the time. And that's for your own personal safety. Once we do that, we have to give you a place to go. So we have to open a shelter to give you a place to go. We're hoping you go somewhere else, because nobody wants to be in a shelter. Even as nice as ours is run, and how efficiently it is run, because our CERT team, really, we've been commended by the county and the state as to the running of our shelter. These people are awesome. They all have health cards. They went for food handling classes. I mean, you name it, they did it. And I commend them for that. But we don't want people there too long. You want people in a shelter 1 day, 2 days, that's it, and move on, okay, with a relative or maybe some other kind of lodging that you've arranged. Because shelters are not happy places after a couple nights. So we try not to open them unless we have to, and then when we do, we'll run a good operation. Let's talk about the electrical grid. Is there anybody here that was without power in the last month? Raise your hand. Okay. All right. Many people were. Now, I can also tell you this, and I'm very proud of this. Our tree maintenance program, because of our shade tree commission, say that 3 times fast, is excellent. These people are very committed, very dedicated, and what they've done is they go through, identify trees that have to come down, and they take them down or they prune them. We had very few trees down, but the ones that came down obviously did substantial amount of damage. And unfortunately, when JCP&L comes in, it's not as simple as coming around and just plugging in an extension cord again and giving you power. They have to start from the get-go and trace that whole circuit to make sure that there's no shorts on the line. Because if they fix the wire in front of Councilman Bates' house and they plug it back in, there might be another short down in front of Councilman Lennon's house. And now we're going to have multiple shorts. People are going to be in harm's way. You're energizing a circuit where you still have wires on the ground enwrapped and entwined in trees. So when they come in, they have to run that whole circuit. They literally walk it or drive it. They make sure, everything is good with it before they re-energize it. The other thing that they will do a lot of times is they'll come in, and if it's a critical short on a particular line, they have to shut down the whole grid to make that repair and then turn the whole grid back. So people that had power, a day or 2 or 3 after the storm, their power goes out and they're wondering, why is it going out now? 3 days after the storm, everything is over. No, it's not over. Because during the repair process, they have to shut the electric off so they can patch the problem and then turn it back on again. So, as much as they were overwhelmed, JCP&L, I'm not going to, take sides on whether they did a great job or not a great job. In my opinion, they communicated with us very well. They gave us restoration times that people didn't like, and nobody's going to like that when you're told a day or 2 from now, or 3 days, or 4 days, or a week in some locations. Unfortunately, nobody got hurt. Thank God nobody died. It was a safe storm. Okay, as much as it was an inconvenience, we had a man die in Sussex County, stepped on a wire. We had a live arcing wire on the top of Summit Avenue, put on quite a light show for part of the town, but nobody was compromised, and that's what we want. No homes burned down, no people got injured, and that's a good thing. So the only thing I can tell you is be prepared for electrical outages. Have a generator. If you do have one, it shouldn't be closer than 10 feet to your house. I had to stop at one house. They had it right in the garage door. They had it right under the garage door, and the garage door was down on the generator. Carbon monoxide can get back into the house. It's got to be 10 feet away from the house, and it's got to be safe. It's got to be grounded so nobody gets electrocuted. Okay? If not, candles. Don't light candles. Very dangerous. Get batteries. Make sure you have battery-operated lighting equipment and so forth. And a lot of people had good notice so they could relocate. Some of them did. And had relatives, friends and relatives they went to, and that's a great thing. Right, Borough Services. Let me mention that for a minute. We had a 19-inch snowstorm. I personally got calls that we having paper pickup the next morning. I'm honest with you. The same guys that pick up your paper and garbage and recyclables, ladies and gentlemen, are the same guys that plow our roads. Our 27 miles of roadways. So if you think they're going to plow all night, throughout the night, and then get on the back of a garbage truck and go pick up paper, it's not going to happen. Now, we'll try to get a message out. Personally, I don't like to put messages out at certain times of the day, like too late at night and overnight, because it just scares the hell out of people. So I'm hoping you use your good common sense and say, you know what, the paper can stay there another week or 2, and let these guys do what they have to do. But we do get, and the police will verify it, we do get a lot of calls about, are you having this, or the recyclables being picked up? You can't even get near the curb. You saw the streets. right? In some cases, 6, 8 feet from the curb with snow because they had nowhere to push it. It might not happen, so don't get upset. Grin and bear it. We'll get through it together. Emergency services, call 911 only for emergencies. Our police department still has the local numbers, the 10-digit numbers. Do not call 911 to ask if the power's out, my power's out, and you're calling 911. No. 911 is for medical emergencies, fires, police-related activities, hold-ups, God forbid, something like that, motor vehicle accidents, not for your local, regular, routine question that you may want to ask. The calendar. I ask people all the time, do you see a Borough Calendar? No, I don't have one. They're mailed out, Liz, am I correct, to every single household in our borough, correct?
Yes.
Twice a year?
Once.
A year. Okay, but this...
End of July.
The end of July, beginning...
The end of June.
All right. The end of June, beginning of July, you will be getting a Borough Calendar that has all of our services on it. The calendar is really replete with all kinds of information. So please, when you get it, don't discard it. Hang it on a wall somewhere. Refer to it often. Highlight those things you got to remember, like recycling days or whatever it can do, and get the word out to people. The borough is doing everything it can. Our mayor and council is doing everything it can to make life easy for our residents. But if you're not taking advantage of those resources, it's all for naught. It's not getting used. I use the calendar every day, and it's also online on the website. If you go to our borough website, just Google Pompton Lakes, New Jersey, you'll get the website, click on it, it gives you all those schedules on there. I live and die by that calendar, otherwise I wouldn't be here tonight. All right, Facebook. Let's talk about Facebook. We have a lot of official people in our town that put out unofficial information on Facebook. All I can ask you is this, and I'm not speaking to you individually, you know that. Nobody here is in trouble. Please don't put unsubstantiated information on Facebook. It just starts, and I wrote it down here, let me read it. Confusion, panic, anxiety, frustration, etc. Official information will come from the mayor, Office of Emergency Management, the police department, whatever. An official borough entity, okay? The schools, as far as what they do, they have their own notification system. So they put that out. But I open up some Facebook sites and I see people on there, making a proclamation that this is closed or that is happening or this is, and it just starts craziness. It just gets everybody crazy. Like the storm didn't do enough. So please, the only thing I can ask everyone is be diligent, be careful what you post on Facebook. It's like there's a rush in the morning when there's snow. I look at it to see who wants to post it. The schools are closed first. How many schools are closed? Gotcha. That was posted at, 10 after 5 in the morning. They have a notification system. The only people who have to know that are the people that have kids in the school. So I say that respectfully, but that's the stuff that starts a tirade of comments and so forth and so on. So I think I've kind of covered the local recent issues that have affected our borough. I think we're doing very well in spite of a lot of this stuff. But just remember that the people are out there working for you, whether they be career or volunteer, police, fire, EMS, DPW, the mayor and council, they're all in the loop. They have to be. Emergency management, our local emergency planning committee is here. We meet here when necessary. I call a little pre-storm meeting if we have to. But I can tell you at this point, our emergency services are so well prepared that they know their drill. They have an annex that they follow, which gives them step-by-step everything, for example, the river readings. They know at a certain point they have to go out and start doing manual river readings. Yes, get out of the car in a rainstorm, go look at the gauge, and mark it down on a piece of paper. Even in spite of all the technology we have today, we still have to do that, and we do. So thank you to all of them. Thank you to all of you that are here tonight because you're interested enough to come out and get educated about what you need to know. And we always remain available for questions. So anytime you have questions, call them out. Okay? All right, and if you don't want to call him, then you call me or some of the other council people. All right, and I do want to recognize them. Everybody knows Mayor Sarah, Councilman Bay, Jacanetta, Councilman Bennon, Councilman DeLine, Councilman Christian Bronco. I knew that. I just drawn a blank here. And Council President Barry Riker sitting right there. So thank you for being here as well tonight. Any other notables in the crowd? VIPs? Fire Inspector Keating in the back. Make sure your smoke detectors are working, or we'll get you. All right. Thank you very much again.
How to sign up for the notifications?
Oh, yes. If you are not getting our notifications, you can do it online, but if you don't want to do it online, we have forms up here to fill out. Put your name and address and your phone number. Sean Sonny, OEM Secretary, will enter it in the database, and you'll be getting the emergency calls if you don't get them now. Is anybody that doesn't get them, that wants them? Okay, the forms are up here. Fill one out. We need your address because we can, on this new system, as we could with the old one, we could send out a 4 or 6 block area of notification on a mapping sequence with GPS. So we don't have to tell the whole town. Okay, we can just tell a couple, blocks or whatever the case may be.
The 3 here, yeah.
This is important because people have made this mistake. The notification is on the left-hand side there where it says emergency notification, sign up. That's the one you want to click on, the icon on the left-hand side. Didn't show them that, Councilman Bennon? Right there. See the one on the left-hand sidebar? That's the one you want for emergencies. Okay? The other one in the middle says notify me. It says non-emergency. And that would be like for meetings and things in town that you might be interested in. But if you want the emergency calls, and we do send out voice, text, email, and Twitter. So by any one of those venues, you're going to get that message, or all of them. And that's where you sign up. If you're not computer literate, you don't have a computer, you don't want to do it, we have the forms here. They're at the police desk. They're at the Borough Hall counter in Liz's office. Just pick one up, pull it out. We've got them right here tonight. Any other questions from the floor? Yes, ma'am.
All the houses that were knocked down in the south, much more further north on these?
Yes.
Is that going to cause the water to come up further up the roads that it used to?
No. The water level is going to be what the water level is going to be. What it's going to do actually is not impede anything, because a lot of the houses were damaged because they were an impediment to the water flow. So unless we get a really significant flood, okay, that property is open space now. It absorbs the water. It doesn't impede the water. It's actually going to help things out. And that's why this town has spent money and resources in removing those homes that were in harm's way. Severe repetitive loss, and that's a good thing for our residents. Very good thing. As much as we don't like to say it, because we're losing waitables and tax base and everything, the bottom line is it takes people out of harm's way, and that's the bottom line. Okay? Anything else? Any other questions? Mayor?
I just want to add that, we're lucky in this town because we have a lot of volunteers. But our volunteers and our CERT, our OEM, fire, first aid, police, flood, they go way beyond what most towns do. Most towns come to us looking for information on how to make these things work. They'll come and talk to our CERT because our CERT knows how to do it. Al's been doing this how many years now?
25.
25 years. He knows the ins and outs of everything that's going on when it comes to this. We're lucky enough to have the people here. We are prepared when something's going on in this town. We're definitely prepared to go. Our downfall is going to kill us is going to be crazy. I agree with that. Everyone needs to relax, enjoy the snow a little bit, and worry about it in 24 hours to 48 hours. 2 hours after a snowstorm hits is not the time to start worrying about garbage or my tree's going to come down. Okay? Making calls at that point is not going to get it done any faster either. So everyone just needs to chill out a little bit, relax. It'll get done. We've always done it in the past. When the big things, the big emergencies happen, we are ready to go thanks to Alan, the CERT, the club, and everybody else. So just keep that in mind. And I think the personal goal stuff they do, because I live in this town too, and it affects me. So it affects everyone here personally when we get those things. So thank you.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it. We're going to leave you a little light show here. This is what I came upon on Summit Avenue coming out of that neighborhood on the night of the storm. Okay, this is what I drove up on. Nobody was there yet. I was the first one. And I immediately posted it on Facebook. I didn't. I immediately called the police on my two-way radio, and I told them that we had a little bit of problem on Summit Avenue. The good part, it was melting the snow and the ice. That was the good part. The bad part is I didn't want to drive through it to get home. So that burned about an hour and a half before Jersey Central got here, because the question they asked is it impinging on a home? No. Are there any exposures? No. Is there anything around it? No. And they had bigger fish to fry, believe it or not. So they eventually got here and disconnected it, and that's why you people on Summit Avenue neighborhood and Hilltop Court had no power for night of the storm. All right, thank you very much, ladies and